What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Anime Casuals. I am Lucky, and today we are talking about an anime that really impressed me this season. Now, before we get into the anime itself, I want to make something really clear. This season has been nuts with the amount of quality anime coming out. It's hard to even disagree with anybody about their pick for best anime of the season, just because it comes down to subjective details that sway our opinions. That being said, we're talking about my pick for anime of the season, which is Those Snow White Notes. Now, this one went way under my radar until I was on YouTube and I saw Crunchyroll uploaded a clip of the main character Setsu shredding the Shamisen like he had a gun to his head. Once I started this anime, it pulled me in straight away. Now, for people who have never heard of a shamisen, think of it as a Japanese banjo, but when you hear it, it has much more of a percussive sound to it, since it is picked with this ice scraper known as a bachi. Now, I'm not going to go into a history lesson of the shamisen, but Tsugaru shamisen refers to both the style of playing and the instrument, futojao, which is slightly bigger than the other shamisen, and the percussive sound that I mentioned before is made because the bachi is typically hit to the bass pretty much every time a note is hit. There's also this really interesting one called a kokyu style of playing, which is actually a lot more like a violin, and just for fun, I thought I would show you a clip of what that sounds like. Now I'll go ahead and play you a clip of the Tsugaru shamisen style, since YouTube is a little strict on the copyright procedures. I don't really know exactly what I can show you from the show, but here's a clip, and I will actually have a link to both of these videos if you do want to check them out in their entirety in the description box down below. So as you can tell, there is a big difference, but man, the anime really brings everything together to make a beautiful piece of art in every sense of the word. The music is beautiful, the intro and outros are freaking bangers and have a nice mix of modern sounds with the shamisen playing in the background and even as a front instrument. I found a guy on YouTube that does a shamisen cover of the opening, Blizzard, and it is freaking awesome. I'll leave a link to that in the description box down below if you guys want to check that out. Please go support him. It is an awesome cover. So let's start with the animation and the music. The reason why I'm putting these two together is because they really complement each other, especially in this anime. Like when Setsu first performs on stage and he's having flashbacks to his grandfather, it almost gives you a sense of what the audience is seeing while Setsu's playing. My favorite scene so far, though, is this scene where Setsu and Kaido, a member of the school's Shamisen Appreciation Club, are listening to a recording of Setsu's grandfather playing and watching the journey that his grandfather made to make a song like that. The music and animation are absolutely top tier. Next up, I want to talk about the story, and this story is very deep. I really like the relationship between Setsu and his late grandfather, because you see this whole time that Setsu is trying to catch this sound that his grandfather made at one point, but he's starting to realize that that's not really what his grandfather wanted for him. His grandfather wanted him to find his own sound, his own way of expressing himself, which is so relatable on so many levels. How many times do we go into life trying to emulate the people that we look up to, instead of trying to be the best versions of ourselves? Now, since there are only 6 episodes out, at least as of this video, it wouldn't be fair to make a finalized judgment, but just so far, I just wanted to talk about a couple things besides the main story. You know, so far the pacing has been excellent, even though it can seem a little fast at times. You know, when we go from the first episode, we start in Setsu's village, then we go to Tokyo, then from Tokyo we go into a house that his mother gives to him, and then we go into a training camp eventually. All this happens within 6 episodes, but I actually really like it because it doesn't really dawdle around anything that doesn't have to do with Setsu's growth. It's really focused on him trying to find his own sound. It really doesn't waste time. Now, one legitimate criticism that could be made of this is there is a slight lack of an antagonist. However, since there are only 6 episodes, I can't exactly fault that. There have been some hintings at maybe certain characters. You know, there is Umiko, Setsu's mom, who is trying to push him into the spotlight so her father can finally get recognition for how amazing he was at playing the Shamisen. Then there's Seiryu, who is pushing Setsu as a Shamisen player. Even in the intro, you can see that they do have a little bit of a rivalry. But I don't really think an antagonist is exactly needed in this anime. It's a little bit more of a slice of life-ish type thing. What I'm more focused in are, well, what are the problems that Setsu has to overcome? And there are actually a lot of them. He has to try and find his own sound. He has to try and find a consistent sound because he's not always playing to the best of his abilities. There's also his chemistry with the Shamisen Appreciation Club. So a lot of these really bring out a great plot, and overall, like I said, this is going to be my pick for the season. I know I ended up messing up a long time ago when I called Tonikawa my pick for the season, and then I dropped it like a bag of bricks, but I really do think this is a very special anime, and I would really recommend that everybody gets a chance to watch this. It really is something that it could really fly under a lot of people's radars, so check that out on Verve. But as always, guys, don't forget to keep it casual.